Durag Wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Earth Date Y2K 21.07.15. There's much I want to talk to you all about, especially in light of what Google's YouTube did to me unjustly in taking down one of my broadcasts claiming that I was spouting anti-vaxxer bullcrap. So I've been very careful about how often I broadcast because I do not want to have other stuff taken down by some shadowy organization or some stupid algorithm that really messes everything up. And you know, those algorithms, that borders on totalitarianism. Say a word, picks it up, and then cuts off your broadcast. So again, I don't want to waste your time or mine working hard as I do on these broadcasts, and then to have them taken down unjustly. It really gives me some pause. But I don't want to abandon you folks. Just bear with me. I'll try to broadcast as often as I can. I'm also on a kind of vacation and working vacation. I have to get a lot of stuff done. So please forgive me if these broadcasts aren't coming as often as I'd like them to. We'll talk more about this Google, YouTube, and other stuff another time. In the meantime, the music you hear in the background is by Various, meaning I'm using my iPod, all the 15,000 or 17,000 tracks I have in there, letting it play like a radio. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, I appreciate your patronage. And as you know, I don't advertise. I don't allow myself to have commercials before my broadcasts. I have a select group, and if you want to spread around, if you think you're satisfied with what you see on this old guy talking, by all means, give word of mouth about it. If not, that's cool too. Life is short, and you don't want to waste any of it. I love and have loved the work of Paddy Chayefsky, especially his dark and biting satires. Check out the movies The Americanization of Emily, Hospital, and Network. These are not your superhero movies or empty-headed rom-coms. These films are works of art that cut through the hypocrisy of life under those in charge that in the end can murder us all. What we have now in our government and in ruining our lives is another series of Paddy Chayefsky dark satires. The Americanization of Emily satirized war, journalism, and heroism. Hospital satirized the medical murderers and their institutions, the hospitals. Network satirized television, news, and demagogues. If only Chayefsky were alive today, because those reconciliation bills and the filibuster seem to grow right out of his writing. Check out, ladies and gentlemen, check out that satirical filibuster. In the real world, a majority of 100 people, a majority of 100 is 51. In any vote, 51% is always supposed to be the majority. But this is the era of the satirical filibuster. Used to be that the minority against the proposal in the Congress could delay it by talking against it for hours. Think Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Somehow, the satirists in our government came up with something really absurd. A filibuster in which the aggrieved party no longer has to talk his disagreement until he drops. Under this new satiric filibuster, these creeps can go home and relax and watch pornos. Again, under this new satiric filibuster, you need 60 votes instead of 51 to pass anything, because the new definition of majority has changed so that nothing can ever get done. And against the very nature of our Constitution and our American ethic of fair play, 60 votes instead of the 51 are needed to pass anything. And thus, a minority is in control instead of the voted-in majority. How satirically and darkly absurd is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because of the new satirical filibuster, minority leader and treasonous totalitarian prune-faced Mitch McConnell is still in charge. How the hell are we going to ever get anything done, ladies and gentlemen, as long as this filibuster, this satiric filibuster? Ha! Ha ha ha! How funny can you get? But this is not a movie satire. It is real. And the filibuster will undermine, and it is undermining, our precious constitutional democratic republic. Paddy Chayefsky must still be alive someplace, because only he, Jonathan Swift, Mark Twain, and George Orwell could make up a nightmarish piece of garbage like this. The filibuster is not a part of our Constitution. For years, this made-up thing has been used to block voting rights for black people. Yes, study your history. It has mostly been used by bad actors, not by heroic characters as portrayed by James Stewart as Mr. Jeff Smith. Today, because of the ease of its use, this filibuster thing, bad and racist and totalitarian actors are using it to literally destroy our democratic republic in full view. In full view! To destroy our right to vote. Like their leader has said, do everything in full view. Or that's what he does. It can't be illegal to the dumb public if we do it in full view. Because they think we're stupid. These right-wing traitors, authoritarians, think we're all stupid. The theory is now fact. As we learned in the Y2K20 presidential election, if it is easier to vote, most of us in this era would vote for the Democrats. In this era, again, we sadly and tragically have only one working constitutional party, since the Republicans are now owned and operated by the former president and are determined to make of our country an authoritarian, religious extremist, totalitarian society, whether we want it or not. Minority rules, filibuster. My father and many of yours fought against totalitarianism, wars. Many died in pain none of us could ever imagine. If the filibuster is allowed to remain as is, the sacrifices of our soldiers and many of our fathers and now our mothers have been made and will have been made in vain. The goal of today's Republican Party is to return the former dictator, president, quote unquote, to power, or return it to something similar, maybe even worse. In both cases, this country, our beloved United States of America, will be destroyed. Today, because of the satirical filibuster, if you want to get anything done, you must go via reconciliation, an alternative, longer route. Imagine the ambulance going an alternate route if you're lying on the ground in the street bleeding to death. Think of it this way, again, and remember the work of Chayefsky. The way things are today in our government, if you have an itch on the right side of your face, you go over and do this with your left hand. And if you have it on the left side, you go this with the right hand. Why not like this? Why not like this? The absurdity of the satiric filibuster knows no bounds. Helping to keep the minority, not the voted majority, in power. Somewhere and somehow, a group of powerful, racist, political white hacks managed to change the filibuster so that it can be used for what it was always meant for, to stop black people, minorities, and liberals from having their votes matter. If this were a movie, it would be an entertaining, cautionary, Chayefsky satire tale. But this is real. And our Constitution and our democratic republic are really going down in flames, with the possible return of the worst monster in our history. Nothing is funny about that.